Welcome back to another episode of the Real Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Jacob O'Connor. Today joining me is Sean Whalen. Thank you for coming on, Sean.
What's up, man?
Not much. How are you doing today?
Friggin' amazing. Awesome.
Good. Love it. So for those of you that have been with the podcast for a while, you know that Sean came on a few years ago. But for those of you that have just recently started tuning in, Sean is a father, an author, serial entrepreneur, and the founder of Lions Not Sheep. And so we covered that a lot in the last episode. I'm sure we'll dive into it even more in this episode. But where I would like to actually start off is you semi-recently shared the stage with Dr. Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
How was that experience?
I mean, it was amazing. I mean, Jordan's one of the great philosophers of the 21st century. And being able to hang out with him and talk to him and experience him on a different level, personal level, is really cool. I mean, he's a really, really, really powerful, driven human being. So it was inspiring not only to have him on our stage and share wisdom and nuggets with him, but being able to just kind of hang out with him and talk to him was really cool.
What was he like when you just kind of got to hang out and was cameras
He's intense,
off?
Man. I shared a picture of he and I sitting backstage in the green room, and he's looking at me. He's incredibly intense, and not like in this forceful way, but when you're sitting there talking to him, he's listening, and like listening in a super fucking powerful way. You know what I'm saying? Like, he is insanely intense with that connection and the eye contact, and you could just like the intensity. Like, there's no mincing words with him. He's very, very deliberate with his words. He's very deliberate with like his attention, and it was really cool. It was really inspiring for me. But I learned a big lesson from him on the thoughts or the thought process that he puts into his answers. I mean, there was a couple questions that I asked him that there was a good 6, 7, 8 second, which is a long time when you're sitting there with somebody and it's like.
It's awkward.
It's not awkward. It was powerful. It wasn't awkward at all. Like one of the first questions I asked him, I said, "Are you happy?" And he sat there for probably a good 6 or 7 or 8 seconds, and he kind of closed his eyes, and you could tell that like he was very, very intentional with what he said. A lot of people like me, I struggle with this because I just fucking pop off like whatever. Yeah, cool. Here you go. And it's not that it's a bad thing, but he was very deliberate, but he was very, very intense, which I actually really appreciated. I really liked.
He has a message that has impacted and touched millions of people. You also have reached just countless millions of people with your message. Why do you think both of your messages are resonating with people?
I think because it's truth. I think that it's very deliberate. I think it's very intentional. And I think honestly that the things that Jordan and I talk about are not talked about by a lot of other people. There's a lot of people that shun away from conversations around money and business and sex and relationships and divorce and depression and suicide and fear and failure and our real personal experiences. We tend to live in this culture and society where failure is shunned and we just want to have the perfect picture and the perfect filter and the perfect business and the perfect family and the perfect everything. And that's just not realistic. And so I think when you get somebody like Jordan or me who just share what we feel and where we are, and the way we see the world and the way we see life, it's shocking to a lot of people because we're so used to just these rudimentary, elementary, canned answers, that it takes people off guard. And I think it definitely rustles people's feathers because we live in a culture and a society where we're trying to normalize stupidity. We're trying to normalize like idiocracy. And guys like him and me, I just don't buy into it. Look, there's 2 fucking genders. I don't care. You can pretend to be a fire hydrant. You can identify as a fire. I don't really care, but you're not a fucking fire hydrant, right? And I don't have any problem saying that. And Jordan doesn't have any problem saying that. So the people that identify as a fire hydrant, they kind of get offended. They get a little pissed off. But I mean, he doesn't care. I don't care. So I think that's why people are really attracted to the message, because more people want to be free. They want to be able to share their voice and not care about the ramifications. But we live in a culture and a society where we do, and it's a really interesting time for sure.
A lot of people think about truth as I'm not telling a lie. How do you conceptualize truth, and why is that important to live your truth?
It's This is an interesting question because Jordan talks about it in his book, The 12 Rules, tell the truth or at least don't lie kind of a deal. And I think what's interesting is we are in a really interesting period of time in our culture and our society with cell phones and technology and social media where, you know, you used to be able to, and you still can, you used to be able to just share how you really felt. And it was like, you weren't really attached to the emotions of the other person. I grew up on the East Coast. To give you an example, I grew up on the East Coast, and I have a lot of, I have a significantly easier time communicating with people from the East Coast. And I don't know what it is about the East Coast, but they just don't get offended. Like if I think you're an asshole, I just tell you that you're an asshole. Or if I say, no, I don't like this, or yes, I like this, or whatever, nobody really takes offense to it. Where nowadays it's like a lot of people get offended by a lot of shit. And it's just an interesting thing because I think people want to be able to say, hey, no, man, I don't like, look, there's penises and vaginas. There's two genders. And I don't know why this came up and why I'm using this as an example, probably because it's just as blatant as it gets. But there's only two genders. I mean, science has proven it. Like we could sit and talk about it all day long, but most people are afraid to say that because somebody's going to yell at them or call them a name or label them a racist or you're homophobic or you're misogynistic or you're this or this or this. And I think that a lot of people are struggling right now because they want to share their truth. They want to share their opinions. They want to share their feelings. And they're afraid to do that. And so there's kind of a draw to it. So when you see somebody like Jordan or me that stands up and says, I don't really give a shit. This is how I see it. This is my truth. This is my reality. I think there's definitely a draw to it, but I don't think very many people are doing it.
How did you get to that point? Because I think that is incredibly difficult to have the self-awareness to know what you're saying, but also to not be concerned with how other people are going to interpret it.
A number of years ago, I kind of went through a midlife crisis. I talk about this in my book, and I'm sure we talked about this on the last podcast. And I got to a point where I realized something. As I started growing on social media, like I didn't set out one day to go, hey, you know what? Today sounds like a great day. I'm going to become this social influencer. I have millions of followers and I have a billion views in my videos. I didn't do that. It just happened. Right. But I started observing it and I started realizing that like, no matter what I said, no matter what I did, no matter how I posted, no matter when I posted or what I posted, there was always somebody mad. There was always somebody telling me you shouldn't say this or you should say this or you can't say God and fuck in the same sentence. And you get that. And I realized that no matter what I did, I was going to be judged. Like if I'm shredded, my body's shredded, it's because I'm taking steroids. If I'm fat, it's because I'm a lazy piece of shit, right? If I'm rich, he's a snake oil salesman. He's just robbing people and stealing from people. If I'm poor, I'm undisciplined, right? And I just got to a point where I realized, like, if that's the reality, and it is the reality, then why not just do whatever the fuck I want? Instead of living a life where I'm trying to do everything for other people's claps and other people's praise and other people's, adoration, no matter what I do, somebody's going to be pissed about it. Somebody's going to judge me. So why did I not just go do what the fuck I want to do? And it kind of became a process for me where I just started doing it. I started sharing more and more of my thoughts and my feelings, how I see it, what my truth is. I'm a father of five. I have 5 kids. My truth is my truth. My experience with raising 5 children is my experience. That is my truth. And I think that it's gotten a lot easier. A lot of people say to me, well, Sean, how do you do it? Like, how do you get to a place where you can do it? You just got to fucking do it. You just literally got to, it's like, how do you not be fat? You go to the gym. You got to start. And if you haven't been to the gym in a long time, you got to just fucking start somewhere, right? It's the same thing with speaking. It's the same thing with teaching. It's the same thing with leading. You just have to start. And I have found over the years that it's just gotten easier and easier and easier to just share my reality and not be attached to what anybody says. And it's served me well for sure.
As you say, it served you well. What have you seen as some benefits of starting to speak and live that truth?
Well, in addition to having, multiple businesses that have grown because of this, a coaching business, I've had over 40,000 people join my coaching group. I've got an apparel company that's did almost $30 million or has done almost $30 million of sales. I have literally been invited to speak on the biggest stages and share my message with literally millions of people. I've been on some of the biggest podcasts on earth. The benefit for me is it's freeing, it's liberating. You know what I mean? Most people aren't free today. We think we're free because, we're not in shackles or handcuffs, but the truth of the matter is people are mental slaves. They're emotional and mental slaves. So the benefit for me and is that I felt better. As I shared this over the years. When my first post went viral 10 years ago, two things happened. Number one, I realized that millions of people resonated with my darkness. I shared a post about my divorce and how angry I was and how sad I was and how bitter I was and how pissed off I was. And millions of people related to it. And they're like, yeah, man, yeah, like that's so good and truth. And this is refreshing to hear. And I was like, the fuck is wrong with you guys? Like, I just got this isn't a happy Disneyland picture. I just got telling you how big of an asshole I was. And so I realized millions of people resonated. But the second thing, and probably the most important, is that I felt better. After sharing this truth and sharing this reality, I felt better, like lighter. And so I just went to kind of down the rabbit hole and thought to myself, well, if this is what like the key is to feeling better, I'm just going to keep doing it. And over the last 10 years, I mean, I've shared thousands of pieces of content on social media. And every single time I feel better. I feel lighter. I don't have anything to hide. I don't have anything to run behind, or I'm not trying to be one guy on social media and another guy at work and then another guy at home. I'm just me, period, across the board. And it's a very, very, very peaceful place to be.
Mm-hmm. Whenever you tell the truth, or whenever you don't tell the truth, I feel like you run into all these different handcuffs of who do I want to show up as, and
Right.
who am I trying to be for this person? And that's not something that I've mastered at all. That's not why I'm saying it, but it's something that I've started to notice as I've made a more conscious effort to try and be who it is that I actually want to be. Because I mean, we're only here for a finite amount of time, and
Yeah.
I think I've started to realize more and more that I only have one life to live, and I want to live it the way that.
True, man. And the truth is, like, look, you're going to be somebody different. I'm not the same dude that I was 5 years ago. I'm not the same dude that I was 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying? And that's a beautiful thing. People always comment or say, like, you've changed. No shit, I've changed. I'm not the fucking same guy. Like, why would you want to stay the same? Why would anybody listening to this want to be the same person today as you were 10 years ago? That means you're literally like not learning anything. You're not doing anything. You're not expanding your mind, expanding your body, expanding your heart, your soul. I don't want to be the same dude in 12 months that I am right now. I want to be better. I want to be a different, more expanded, more enlightened, more loving, caring, and passionate person, right? So a lot of people are afraid of this change when you should welcome it. So now when people are like, man, you've changed, I'm like, thank you. Good. I'm glad you see that. I've been working hard to fucking change, man.
Yeah. I think something directly tangential to this, and one of the reasons I enjoy following you is you often talk about getting your house in order. And I think this is maybe a relevant step for starting to live in a reality that's full of more truth. Talk to what getting your house in order means to you.
Um, there's multiple facets to it. One of the things that I teach with lions, not sheep, is obviously getting your house in order, and really needing nothing. Now, again, a lot of people read into that wrong because we're very tribal people, we're very communal people. We are in communities and we're part of tribes, and we have these gatherings of human beings that we're like and that we're associated with. But one of the things is, like, as a father of five, as a husband, I don't want to have to be in need. Meaning, I don't want to have to call 911 for protection. I want to be able to protect my family. I don't want to have to, like, rely on some guy to give me a paycheck every 2 weeks just so I can hopefully get food for my family. I want to be able to build my own resourcefulness, that I can create my own income, my own future, right? And the whole getting your house in order conversation, it starts with self. It starts with your mind. It starts with you getting your shit together. And most people don't do this. As the good book says, we're tossed to and fro with every wind of doctrine. I mean, look at social media. Look at how powerful the mainstream media is and social media is. Most people don't know what they really believe. They've never gone down the rabbit hole of establishing themselves. And so when the media says, be mad at these people, we just go get mad. And now be mad at them. Jump over here and go over there. And there's very few people that ever actually stopped and planted their flag and said, no, I'm not going anywhere. This is my life. I'm going to live it the way that I want to build my own home, build my own, not just physical home, like my own home, my mind and my heart and my soul. And so getting your house in order, it's not just getting guns and bullets and food and, having a ranch and having all this shit and being able to fight, whatever. It's being able to literally, as the good quote talks about, being the warrior in the garden, not the gardener in the war. And so it's going out there and forging yourself into a productive human being who can take care of himself and his family, right? And I feel like if you have enough of those guys then who come together, now you've got a fucking army. Now you've got a tribe of highly successful, highly productive members of society. But if you're sitting there going, man, I don't have any food and the power goes out and I don't have any food and the store's empty, shit, I'm fucked. I legitimately can't eat. I don't know how to fight. I don't know how to protect myself. Your house isn't in order. So I don't think there's anything more important than a man. I mean, at your age, man, you're learning this at a phenomenal age. I didn't learn this shit until I was significantly older than you. But there's nothing more important that you'll do or I'll do as a man than to get my own house in order. My spiritual house, my emotional house, my physical house, my mental house. And when that shit's in order, and it's a never-ending growth cycle, you're always working on that. Then you really become free. You really become, like, as a lot of people say, unfuckwithable. You know what I'm saying? I feel like there's far too many people that are not there, and that's the reason we talk about it so much.
It's a perpetual journey, and I'm curious, how often do you take inventory of having your house in order, whether that's spiritual, mental, or physically?
Every day, multiple times a day. I mean, all day long. I'm constantly engaging in this reality of this is my life. Like, this is my food, this is my house, this is my family. Here's where I am with my children. This is where I am with my employees. This is where I am with my companies. Like, where are we? Are we moving the needle? Are we stronger? I mean, literally today I went and I had major shoulder surgery a year ago, 13 months ago. And I mean, I started over. Like, I was still in really good shape, but I had to basically start over with like 5-pound weights. Like, and today I put four plates on for my bench, and that's a huge accomplishment for me. That was like a target that I set, and I don't need to work out at that weight. I'm not trying to be a power lifter or whatever, but I'm a 45-year-old dad and husband. I want to look good. I want to be strong, and so for me, I'm constantly trying to move the needle. And I think what a lot of people fail to realize is, like, we should be looking at who we are and what we are and where we are every day. Am I better today than I was yesterday? That's all that matters. Fuck 10 years ago. Fuck 10 years from now. Am I better today than I was yesterday? Do I have a little bit more money? Am I a little bit stronger? Am I a little bit more at peace? Do I have a little bit more of my consciousness there? Am I a little bit more calm? Can I handle conflict better? And if you're looking at that every day, I talk about in my book how you eat the elephant, right? There's a lot of people that they make these big, huge New Year's resolutions. You're fat, you're out of shape, you're broken. You're like, God damn it, this is my year. I'm going to get ripped. I'm going to get shredded. And it's like, most of those people never accomplish that. They stay in this hamster wheel spinning and spinning, spinning, and spinning. And so what I teach people is, I'm like, look, you can't eat the elephant in one bite. Like, you think about the elephant, you physically can't eat it. But what would happen if I just took a fork and a knife and I just took a little bit every day? I just cut a little piece every day. I just cut a little piece every day. Eventually, I'll eat the elephant. So 6 months from now, while most people are still trying to figure out how to eat the whole fucking elephant, hit the grand slam business deal, save my marriage in one conversation and one text message, I'm just over here taking little teeny bites every single day. A little bite here and a little bite there, a little bit stronger, a little bit stronger, a little bit stronger, a little bit stronger. And, that's how you really, truly move the needle. But that's also a great benchmark of how to live life, because if you do have setbacks, like my shoulder, for example, right? I blew my bicep tendon out, just shredded it. And that's a big fucking injury, because everything you're picking weights up. I mean, every single lift that's upper body that requires an arm, you're done. No bench, no curls, no shoulders, no shit, no nothing, right? And so that's a major freaking injury. But the thing is I was in good shape when I had that injury. And so it really didn't derail me very far. My mindset was there. I literally I kept going to the gym. I kept doing shit with my other arm. I kept adapting and pivoting and moving. And so I rebounded really fast because I wasn't so far off track. And I think what people need to start focusing on is these small incremental wins, right? Like, if you're broke and you have $0 in your bank account, most people jump on social media and are like, fuck, I need a Lamborghini. I got to build this big, huge business. And they just stay broke. But the truth of the matter is, if you don't have $1 in your bank account, $1 in your bank account is a big fucking win. Now do it again and get another dollar and then another dollar and then another dollar. And before you know it, you've got money in the bank. And if you constantly or perpetually moving your life that way, moving your body, moving your meditation, moving your soul, moving your relationship, you're always going to win. And when the setbacks come, because they do, I have them all the time. When the setbacks come, you just jump kind of right back on track and you keep going.
I think the conversation that we're having right now is about progress. I think that'd be a good way to categorize it. One of the things that I wanted to acknowledge is whenever we did our first podcast a few years ago, Lions Not Sheep was tiny. I think I recall talking about this because I was also selling apparel at the time. We had about the same equipment, if I remember. And
Mm-hmm.
to see the just rocket ship exponential growth of Lions Not Sheep has been super surreal and a testament to everything you just talked about. I'm curious, why do you think Lions Not Sheep resonates with so many people?
Um, because it resonated with me. A lot of people hit me up about, how do I grow an apparel company or how do I grow a brand or how do I do this? Like what a lot of people don't, and I've shared this, a lot of people don't know, Lions Not Sheep didn't start as an apparel company. It didn't start as a coaching company. There were no books. There was no seminars. There was no anything. It literally came to me and became my own personal mantra. Like I wrote it on my bathroom mirror, Lions Not Sheep. Like it's hard for people to see it now because you see the gear and the apparel and the websites and the millions of things, and it's just crazy, right? But it started as my own personal mantra. And I realized like every single day as I read those words on my mirror, is like I have two choices. I could be a lion or I could be a sheep. And a very figurative, very simple. I'm a simple dude. I dropped out of high school. Like I'm not the smartest cat around, but I like it's gonna come to me. Just explain it to me in crayons. Like write it on a whiteboard. If you can't explain it to me on a whiteboard, it's too complicated. But the truth is it started as my own personal mantra. So I started looking at everything that I was doing. Am I being a lion or am I being a sheep? The sheep does what it's told, it follows. A lion does whatever the fuck it wants. Just primitive. People are like, well, the male lions, they sleep all day. The female lions, fuck, I don't give a fuck. Just shut up, right? It doesn't fucking matter. A lion does whatever the fuck it wants to do whenever it wants to do it. When it gets hungry, it runs out and he kills something and he eats. He wants to take a nap, he sits under a tree and nobody fucks with him. Sheep, they don't know what the hell's going on. They're following. And so it became my own personal mantra for quite a while before I ever even spoke it to anybody, let alone had a t-shirt. There wasn't a single t-shirt that had ever been made. And so I think the reason people resonate with it is because they understand how simple it is, yet how powerful it is. Every single decision we're making every single day, we have one of two choices. We can be a follower, we can be a sheep and do as we're told and just do what everybody else is doing, or we do what the fuck we want to do. We say it how we want to say it. We build it how we want to build it. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people resonate with that, and they resonate with the simplicity of the message, but also with the clarity of the message. Of people ask me all the time, we'll be in an elevator, and a guy will be like, "Oh, lions are sheep. What does that mean?" And I'll say every single time, 100 times out of 100, I'll say, "What do you think it means?" And they say the exact same thing 99% of the time. Be a lion, not a sheep. I'm like, it's that simple.
I think also it's the clarity of the message, the simplest message, like you're saying, but being able to articulate and communicate that through the brand. Right now, I'm down in Florida. I just mentioned that I live in Kansas, but I'm here for a few months, and I was working at the local gym here. I saw someone wearing a Lions Not Sheep shirt, and it was just one of those moments where I was like, "This is kind of really cool, actually," because
Mm-hmm.
so many people have had a motto in their head, like you were just saying, that resonated with them, and they put it on a T-shirt. But they're not selling these all across the country. They're not doing $30 million in sales. Why?
Right.
How do you think you've crafted that brand? What has been?
Well, I didn't. I've obviously grown organically quite a bit. Like I had, a million followers when I decided to actually start doing this. But that's really the essence of why it's working the way that it's working is because I didn't just talk about it. I didn't just say, "Hey, everybody, go live this fucking brand." I am the brand. Like, and you are the brand. Like anybody who wears this hat or a shirt or whatever else, like you are the brand, right? And I think what a lot of people don't see is they try and craft these messages and get people to believe these things that they themselves don't believe. And so for me, I won't, obviously having social media is a brilliant tool. I just decided to use it. I started sharing my story, and it just happened to be that I'd have a hat on or a shirt and be like, "Where the fuck did you get that?" And be like, "Go over here," right? So organically, it grew really fast because I had already built this following of people. And then when I got with the marketing guys and understood some ads and we started to like push it out there, that's when it just took off, right? And that's what I think is really cool is being able to have truly like an identity as an organic brand. Like it grows whether or not we're running ads. It sells whether or not we're running ads. It sells whether or not we have the best this or that. But really, like a lot of my marketing too, like if you go back just even over the last couple of years, like my videos or pictures, I just don't give a shit. We've had more things banned by Facebook and shut down and ads shut down because I just don't fucking care. Like, this is me. This is who I am. I love guns. I love my cigars. I love good whiskey. I love my Lamborghini. I love muscle cars. I love my wife. I love my family. I love America. So I share all this shit. I love doing donuts in my Razor and blowing shit up. And I think there's a lot of dudes out there that resonate with that. They're like, yeah, I vibe with that. I fuck with that guy. Like, if he and I sat down and had a beer, we'd probably have a good time. And we probably would. And I think that really it transcended the message and people just saw I'm a dude just trying to like build a dream. This is a dream. It's a vision that I have. I'm out here getting screwed with by the government and by this and making mistakes and and doing this and doing that. I'm trying to build something that didn't exist. And so I think a lot of people resonate with that. And I've been very, very, this goes back to that truth question, is I've been crazy transparent with my life. I talk about bad days. I talk about good days. I talk about winning. I talk about losing. I talk about getting my ass kicked. I talk about kicking some ass. And I think people really like that. They vibe with that, and that's one of the things that I've never shied away from is, a lot of people say, well, you can't say this or you're going to lose followers over this. And like, go fuck off. Like, if you don't want to follow me because of what I believe and how I believe and how I do it, then I don't really want you following me anyways,
You also mentioned building a dream, and I think a lot of people enjoy being able to watch a journey and feel like they're participating in that.
Yeah.
What is your goal for Lions Not Sheep over the next 10 or 20 or just the long-term vision for it?
Oh, 10 or 20 years, I don't fucking know. I don't even think that far ahead. My goal right now for 2024 is to get us back on track. 2023 was a major setback year for us. I tried to scale really big, and it didn't work. I brought in some people that weren't a good fit for the company that had to let go, and it cost us a bunch of money. And I learned a lot of lessons in 2023. So 2024 for me is getting the wheels kind of back on the bus the way that I want them to be, because we became a company that I really wasn't vibing with. And I had to learn lessons of bringing in, top tier management and things along those lines. And it didn't go the way that we wanted it to. So this year for me is kind of that rebuild. But the future to me is just continuing to live it, continuing to grow it, continuing to share the vision. We've had conversations with some, venture capital companies about potentially selling. We've had some offers. We've had people talk to us about investing in the company, and I own 100% of it. I don't have partners. I don't have investors. All my inventory is mine. You know what I mean? I started with one t-shirt and grew it and grew it and grew it. But I think that we're in a really interesting state now where I understand more about business. I understand more about the apparel game. I understand more about e-commerce than I did 3 years ago when we started. I didn't even really know what ads were. I'm like, all right, here's a t-shirt. Who can run ads on Facebook? All right, great. Here you go. We started at like $50 a day and ramped it up to like $10,000 a day, right? We were doing, my mom was heat transferring shirts, and then we started buying tens of thousands from a production company. So I've learned a lot over the last couple of years, and I think it's very powerful for people to realize and note that, like, my good friend Andy Frisilla, he's been running First Form for 20 plus years. Everybody looks at where he is now. They didn't see where he was 15 years ago when he was sucking pond water, not making any money. So people look at us and like, oh, you guys have this huge successful company, and it's really cool and it's really fun. But the reality is we're learning, we're growing. So I would love eventually down the road, I've said this before, I want Lions Not Sheep to become a household name. I want the brand, the vision, the motto. Like, I can see Lions Not Sheep on products that, are that transcend anything we're even talking about. This isn't a t-shirt company. This isn't an apparel company. It's a movement. This is just one of the aspects of the movement is the gear. And so, my goal with Lions Not Sheep in its entirety is that we have millions of people in our coaching programs. We have teens and kids programs. We have couples and working together to better their marriages and things like that. Obviously building a bigger apparel company. I have a big vision for it. So where it'll be in 10 years, I have no idea. But I know that right now we're working hard to really just continue the vision and push it forward.
I like that. And I like that you mentioned that 2023 was a year of setbacks and difficulties. I had Andy on a few years ago, and then I had his brother Sal, the CEO now, First Form, on just a couple weeks ago. And when I asked him a similar question, he said that 2023 he got kicked in the teeth. In 2024 he's trying to take off and explode.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important for people that are in your guys' position to share things like that, because a lot of the listeners are my age. I'm 22, just graduated college. They're around that time of their life where I think it can be frustrating to see people who are labeled as successful online and have had success in business objectively, and to think that everything is just a straight line roller coaster, or a straight line, not a roller coaster.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah. It's truth, man. I mean, I talk to Andy all the time, and I think the thing that's really cool about our brands, First Form and Lions Not Sheep, is that we're all that way. Like, we just realized that we've had a lot of success. We've also had a lot of failures. And at the end of the day, I would much rather be able to sleep well at night knowing that I'm putting the truth out there, putting my reality out there, than not. I mean, case in point, when the FTC came in last year and came after us, it was a super trivial thing, and it blew up and it exploded, and it was headline news everywhere. The most hellacious headlines, and like that I'm scamming veterans, and there was all this other stuff, and nobody really knew the real story. But it was also one of those things where I didn't like run from it. I didn't hide from it. I just sat down and said, "Yo, here's exactly what's going on and what's gone on." And I think what was really cool about it is a lot of people kind of shit the bed and ran. And then a lot of people dove in and realized, holy crap, like, this is real business. This is how it works. You know what I'm saying? It's not this linear line that just keeps going up. I mean, there's some days where it is the top, and then some days it's the bottom, but that's the truth, And I really believe that one of our strongest facets and really the foundational principles of our company is that we're just going to put it all out there. And whether it's good, whether it's bad, whatever it is, like, we're all in, and I'm not going to change that ever.
I think there's a level of accountability to it as well. If I remember correctly, I think you shared like the actual letter that you got sent from them.
Yeah. Oh, I shared the whole thing, man. I sat down and did a 20-minute video, and I shared the entire thing. Like, there was nothing for me to hide, right? But the thing got spun so fucking far out there, and I learned a lot of lessons through that. I learned a lot of lessons about the cannibalization of people, and who's really like, got your back, and who really even cares to know the truth. This is the reason the mainstream media is so big. Nobody ever reads fucking articles or listens to anything. They just see the big headline. Trump is a racist. He's a racist. I don't know what he said, but he's a fucking racist. Can you tell me what he said? No, but he's a racist because the TV told me to, right? So all these headlines of like me ripping off tags from China's shirts and shit like that. I'm like, I did a video in 2020 literally showing people how we buy the same t-shirts as everybody else does, tear the terrible tags off, and this is what we do. So it was just interesting because so few people actually pay attention and really care about the truth. But for me, it was just a learning experience, and it's all a learning experience. You show me somebody who's built something big, I will show you somebody who's gotten kicked in the teeth quite a few times.
It's that discipline and perseverance to keep showing up, though.
100%, man. I mean, there were a lot of moments where I was like, "Fuck, this is crazy!" Like, we were frontline. We had over 900 different media outlets share stories about us, and not good stories, lies, deception. I mean, things that weren't even fucking true. Hundreds and hundreds of different individual media outlets that went viral. They all went viral. We were on the front page of the Drudge Report, which is the number one website on planet Earth next to Google. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things where it's kind of like, how far are you willing to go, and how bad do you really want it? Because that would have crushed a lot of people. A lot of people would have packed up and gone home and said, "This isn't for me." And I looked at it as an opportunity to get better. I looked at it as an opportunity to sharpen my sword, to understand business more, really like look at the market and understand things. And I would not change it for the world, man.
I was going to ask that because I agree. I think most people would have packed it in, and you have other businesses. You could have just gone off and lived a quieter life and deleted social media. Yeah. Why was it that you didn't just pack it in? Did you truly just view it as, oh, I'm going to get better today? Or was there something deeper in it?
No, there's definitely something deeper, man. Like, I'm not a quitter. I don't quit. You know what I'm saying? And when you stop and think about it, and this is hard for a lot of people, especially your age. And I'm not saying this as a knock, but you haven't had the school of life yet. You haven't lost millions of dollars yet. You haven't had people steal from you and deceive you and cheat you and do things like that yet in a big way. Like, and I have, right? And as this was going on, I'll never forget this, man. Like, and here's a little nugget. I haven't shared a lot of this stuff. You can run with this. It'll be good for your podcast. But like, when I talked to my lawyers, like we had attorneys and we were doing everything totally compliant. What's fascinating, people don't realize, is that out of almost 1 million garments that we've sold, it was only a teeny fraction of only like a small window of time when the FTC changed. We were totally compliant, playing by the rules, totally in complete legal compliance. They changed the rules, and in that small window, we were technically out of compliance. And then they sent us a letter, said, "Here's the thing." We said, "Okay, cool. We didn't know that. We made the changes." And then they were like, "No, we're going to go balls deep. We're going to come after you," right? And what a lot of people don't know is when I was having my conversations with my lawyers, I was pissed because I was like, "Fuck the government, man. None of these people give a shit about me. They don't care about my 20 employees. Like these 20 people come to work every day to earn a paycheck, to feed their families. These are people that rely on me to keep growing this company so that they can keep feeding their families and paying their mortgage. This isn't some game. This isn't like some, oh yeah, cool, let's start a hot dog stand. If it doesn't work, fucking who cares?" There's 20 families that rely on me and Lions Not Sheep for their own food. And unless you've been there, fuck off. You don't know what I'm talking about. But Andy has, Sal has, and we know what that's like. And so when I was having this conversation with my lawyers, I was like, fuck them, fuck the government. I want to fight this. I said, dude, we did not do anything wrong. We didn't do anything wrong. They changed the thing. We were out of compliance. We fucking corrected it. Here we go. That's how anything is, right? And my lawyers were like, you have two choices. You can fight it. It'll cost you probably $1 million to $1.5 million in legal fees and take you 4, 5, 6, 7 years to fight this. And you can. And people have won. People have fought and won. However, at any point in time, the government can come in and file a cease and desist letter, which basically means if I sell one T-shirt more, it becomes criminal, and then they can arrest me and they can shut my entire business down. And what sucks about it is like I didn't want to. I knew what we were doing. I knew that we were at the right. Like we literally 2 years prior had shown. The video still on Instagram. I left it there. It's still there of me literally showing people how we run our business. They're called terrible tag T-shirts. That's literally how they sell them. They sell them as terrible. Like every company fucking does it. And it was that moment where I realized I had to play the bigger game. I had to think longer term. And I had to think about the people that work for me. I had to think about the families. And I realized, like, I knew that when I wrote them that check, that everybody and their dog was going to come after me. I knew it. I mean, I knew that people were just going to fucking come after me, come after Lions Not Sheep. And they did. But what I did is I played the long game. And that's something that I learned that not very many people are willing to do. I mean, most people are scared to even start a fucking company, period. I mean, most kids your age, like they're afraid to start. They might lose and this and that, or they're just dicking around with crypto or Forex. But like, when you build a real business, like a legitimate business, it's a hard proposition, and you have to think about things that most people don't understand. And in that moment, I realized, like, I'm willing to take the bullet, you know, for the long-term win of this company because I'm not going anywhere. This isn't like, well, the government's mad. Let's just walk away from this. This shit lives long after me. When I die, Lions Not Sheep will continue to grow. And that's when the difference between, you know, being an influencer and having a cool T-shirt and building a legitimate brand. This is a legitimate brand. This is no different than Coke and Pepsi and Ford and Nike. This will literally live long after I'm gone. So there's no fucking way I'm walking away from it. I don't give a shit who it is. I don't care how much they want me to shut down and try and freaking put me out in the street. It ain't going to happen. I'm ready for war.
I can't even imagine, and I can't even try and relate because I've never been in that situation. But I will say that the fact that you've shared this, I think is going to be incredibly valuable for other people. And I appreciate that.
Yeah. Sure.
A couple more things to start to wrap up here. I'm curious, you have multiple businesses. What does your day-to-day life look like? Because I feel like online you see a lot of the wake up at 2 a.m., get in your ice bath for 7 hours, take your sauna session, and then go run up to the temple and then spend 8 hours studying something and make $1 million. And I myself, probably the last time we did the podcast, I feel like I fell into that where I was so focused on habits, and routines. And I think there's a place for both of those that I think I missed a lot of the actual work that needed to be done.
Yeah. I mean, Alex Ramosi talks about this, and he's kind of funny. He's always just like, screw your ice bath, screw your morning routines. Because I know people that don't have morning routines that are very, very successful. I think what it boils down to is what works for you. Like what I'm constantly testing my body, right? I'm constantly testing different supplements and vitamins and things like, how do I feel the best? How do I optimize my body, right? If I get up at 5 a.m. versus 6 a.m. versus 7 a.m., how does my day look? Like, where am I at 2, 3, 4 in the afternoon, depending on when I get up? So I think what people need to realize is like, I'm not you, you're not me, and none of us is going to be David Goggins, right? I don't want to run 500 miles a day like that fucking guy. I don't want to do what he does. I just don't want to do it. But if you're just like, I got to be David Goggins and be a fucking psychopath, then that's the life you're going to live. I don't want that life, right? For me, I wake up in the morning and I definitely have a routine, but my routine is whatever I want it to be. I mean, I study before I leave my house. I'm studying. I'm putting nuggets in my brain. I'm working out before I do anything. I work out in the morning every single day because that's what gets me going. That's what gets me up. That's where my time to think. I process things, but my morning routine, like some days I drink coffee over here, some days it's over there. Some days I sleep until like today. I slept until 9 o'clock. I was tired. My body was tired. I slept until 9. I don't normally sleep in past. I normally get up about 6 o'clock every single morning. I got up at 6. My body was like, "No, you're just going to chill for a little bit longer. You need a little bit more sleep." I was like, "Dope, done," and I did, and I still got my workout in. I still got my study done. I still got everything else that I wanted to do done. You know what I mean? And so I think what people need to realize is like take everything with a grain of salt. Take what I say with a grain of salt. What Alex Ramosi says, what this guy says, what Goggins says, what Priscilla or Mylette or anybody else says. What works for you? What works for you? Some people are night owls. I know people that are literally like my son. He sleeps until like 11 o'clock every day because he works all night long. That's his jam. That's how he is. He's a full-time student. That's just how he operates. That's his peak capacity. It's what he's found. So I think what more and more people need to realize is like we're just constantly being inundated with do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. I mean, can you be successful and not take an ice bath? Yeah, you totally can. Absolutely. Ice baths are dope. I like them. I've got one. I was doing it for years before it became kind of a trendy thing, but I like it because I fucking hate it. I just like doing shit that I hate because it sharpens my sword. It makes me better. So I look at my like my morning. I don't sit in the ice bath in the morning. Sometimes I do, but what works for you? What helps you have the best brain function? What helps you have the best relationship with your family? Like every single morning, I snuggle my wife. It's one of my morning routines. Is I'll spend 15, 20 minutes just in bed with my wife, just talking, having sex, doing our thing, because that connection to me before I start my day is huge. You know what I'm saying? So these are the little things that are non-negotiable to me. You know what I'm saying? And they have to happen. But when they happen, and I got up the other morning at 5, I couldn't sleep. I did some work. I came back to bed, so I got my snuggle time in at like 8 o'clock. You know what I mean?
That was the answer I was hoping you would give. And I don't want my listeners to think I'm hypocritical. I love ice baths, saunas, and David Goggins. In fact, I just wanted to point out that I think trying to live your life based off of what worked for someone else, following someone else's blueprint can be valuable in business,
Yeah.
but like doing their day to day down to the minute, that's not going to get you there, at least in my opinion.
No, I don't want to get up at 3 a.m. That's fucking ridiculous. I need sleep. I sleep 8 hours a night. You're like, Sean, I sleep at least 8 hours a night because I love sleep and my body needs it. Your body needs it. Nobody wants, to me, look, I love Jocko. Jocko's great. He does his own thing. Like he posts he's up at 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. every single morning. Awesome. That's how he operates. That's what works for Jocko. But that doesn't mean that you can't go be successful and be ripped and be badass like Jocko and get up at 6 or 7. You know what I'm saying? Cameron Haynes runs like a marathon every fucking day, right? I can still go hunt my elk and carry my elk out of the mountains just like he does, and I don't run a marathon every fucking day. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's a great question.
But you do work out, and that's one of the. I've got two questions for you before we finish up, and that was pertaining to one of them. Why is it disrespectful, in your opinion, to be fat and lazy?
Oh, dude, I don't even need to explain that. I mean, if you're a father, I'm a father of 5. I got 4 boys. You know what I'm saying? How am I going to, what type of man disrespects his body and somehow is trying to be a leader of his sons or daughter? What the fuck is wrong with you? I mean, this is like, it's a no brainer. There is no health benefit to being fat. There's no benefit at all to being fat, number one. But number two, how do you expect people to respect you when you can't respect yourself? It's not hard. Like, dude, I have every ailment known to man. I've got spinal stenosis. I just had major surgery, 13 months ago. Blah, 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 blah. If a man can't control his body, what can he control? That's the way that I look at it. I think it's disgusting. I think it's egregious. And I don't give a shit what you think your thyroid, your thing, you got a boo boo from your college. Fuck off. You sprained your back and it doesn't fucking matter. Everybody's got a thing. But to me, like the true essence of a real savage is a dude who can control his body, and a dude who really wants to weaponize his body. I mean, I don't roll with fat dudes. I don't have dudes in my circle that are fat sacks of shit. I roll with savages who work out, who are fit, who I know that if the shit hit the fan, like they're training like I'm training. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be a dude or be around dudes that can't even run to the end of their driveway without gassing out. I want to know that I can pick up fucking 2 of my kids and run a mile if I fucking have to. That's how I operate. So to me, if you're not there mentally, like we're not playing the same game, and I think it's an absolute travesty, and it's disrespectful to God, it's disrespectful to your family, and most of all, it's disrespectful to you.
I love it, Sean. Well, you can find Sean on Instagram at Sean W. Whalen. I'll link everything else. I'm on Instagram at Jacob O'Connor. Sean, my final question for you is, looking back at this really cool journey you've been on, what advice would you give to your 22-year-old self?
Follow good people. Follow good people. Like join masterminds, be part of tribes, like find good people. I was an arrogant, egotistical young kid I thought I had the world by the balls. I thought I knew everything like many young kids. And I never asked for help. I never followed really anybody. Like I tried to just figure it all out myself. And it's a very, very frustrating way to do things. Be around good people. Be around good men. If you're a man, be around good men. Be around good fathers. Never like associate with shitbags that are cheaters and liars. Don't associate with them. Don't have anything to do with them. Like you are who your friends are. And it's very true. It's very, very, very true. You've got to start this from an early age and learn to build good relationships, build good connections with good people. And most of all, be a good person that other people want to be around. Like be a leader. You should want to be a leader. You should want to have people want to follow you. I shared this the other day on social media. Like, why wouldn't you want to have people follow you? Why wouldn't you want to have like a following and a tribe of people that you yourself can lead? You won't be able to do that until you do it yourself. And so, as the saying goes, the high tide lifts all boats. Become the high tide.
Thank you for coming on, Sean.
You betcha. Thanks, bro.